A rumble echoed across the scorched tarmac of what was once the most secure military installation on Earth. The clouds hung low, painted with hues of ember and slate, reflecting the massive, obsidian vessel hovering silently overhead. No engines roared, no exhaust poured out, just an unnatural stillness that whispered of intelligence beyond comprehension. Major Terran Vexen narrowed his gaze, the glare from the ship reflecting in the dark visor of his combat suit. Around him, the base bristled with activity. Tactical teams, scanners, negotiators, and politicians, all scrambling to respond to the sudden descent of an alien ship unlike anything the world had prepared for. This wasn't a warship, nor a scout. It bore the markings of rank, diplomacy, and intent. A single line of text had been transmitted moments before it landed. *, we seek an audience. Send your highest-ranked diplomatic military officer. Alone. *. Terran had drawn the short straw, not due to rank alone, but because of his composure under pressure. He didn't flinch. Not when the first dropships fell in the Gulf conflict. Not when the skies filled with static and flame over Japan. And not now, as an entire world stared breathless at the visitors from the stars. The ship unfurled itself like a blooming obsidian flower. Plates moved in silence, shifting to form a descending bridge that extended to the Earth's cracked soil. He stepped forward with slow, measured steps, heart rate steady despite the adrenaline simmering beneath his skin. His boots touched the edge of the platform. No guards flanked the entryway. No weapons were visible, just a figure. She emerged from the darkness like moonlight through a storm cloud. The alien commander stood tall, though slightly shorter than Terran. Her skin bore a hue not found in nature, glossed violet with streaks of silver light that pulsed gently, like veins of living starlight. She wore no helmet. Her hair, a crown of interwoven braids that shimmered like fiber-optic strands, moved as though alive. Her eyes locked onto his, not invasive, not hostile. Searching. "You are the chosen," she said, her voice a melody laced with a strange harmonic resonance. Terran kept his tone steady. "I am Major Vexen, representing the coalition of Earth states. You initiated contact. State your purpose." "I am Commander Isari Thalen, emissary of the Valari Ascendancy," she replied, folding her hands in front of her. "Our presence here is no accident. We have come to speak of unity, and warn you of an extinction you do not yet see." The words landed like thunder. Not a threat, a warning. She gestured inward, stepping back slightly to allow him entry. Terran hesitated only a moment, then followed her into the darkened interior of the ship. Inside, the air felt cooler, cleaner, charged with a subtle electric presence. The walls were lined with threads of glowing energy, forming symbols and diagrams he couldn't begin to understand. The corridor led into a chamber filled with an ambient blue glow, resembling both a command center and a temple. "We have observed your kind for some time," she began, walking ahead without turning. "Not as predators nor as prey, as cousins, lost to time and distance." Terran arched an eyebrow. "You're claiming kinship with humanity?" "In a sense," Isari said, stopping before a large, semi-transparent display. It shimmered with maps, some of Earth, others unrecognizable. "Long ago, before your recorded history, a fragment of our kind sought refuge beyond the veil of Valari space. A failed mission, a splintered fleet. They crashed upon your world." He stepped closer, eyes scanning the alien constellations. "And you believe we're descended from them?" "No," she said, slowly turning to face him again. "You are their legacy, a divergence, a rebirth from what we lost. You are different, unrefined, yes, but powerful in ways even we do not yet comprehend." Terran felt the weight of her words sink into his bones. They had always believed contact, when it came, would be marked by superiority, by conquest or salvation. But this was something else, a revelation of shared history, unknown even to themselves. "What is it you want from us?" he asked. Her gaze softened slightly. "To prevent your annihilation." Silence stretched between them, She moved to the center of the chamber, her steps as fluid as liquid mercury. There is a force approaching, not from our world, not from yours. It devours civilizations, not out of hunger but out of design. It reclaims entropy as order. It has done so for millennia. And you expect us to believe that? I expect you to listen, she said, the first trace of steel entering her tone. We intercepted its signal, and it changed course the moment your planet activated a specific transmission array. Something, or someone here called to it. Terran ran a hand along his jaw. Are you saying we summoned this threat? Perhaps unknowingly, or perhaps one of your species was never meant to be born. There it was again, that line between prophecy and science. He had no reason to trust her, and yet nothing about her rang false. He watched her closely, noting the subtle way she breathed slower than humans, the way she tilted her head in contemplation rather than instinct. She was not posturing. She was burdened. You're not telling me everything, he said quietly. No, she admitted. I am not. She stepped closer, the space between them narrowing. Because if I told you the truth, you wouldn't look at me the same. And I would rather you come to see it for yourself. Terran frowned. You assume I'll agree to work with you. She studied him. I assume nothing. But I know the look of a soldier who has lost too many battles. You want to protect your people. I wish to protect mine. And there is only one way to do both. He felt his defenses slip just slightly. Not because of the words, but because of the way she said them. Not as a commander demanding loyalty, but as someone quietly, desperately hoping not to be alone in the fight to come. The meeting ended without a treaty, without ceremony. But something had shifted. That night, Terran stood alone atop the tower that overlooked the base. The stars shimmered, undisturbed by the arrival of gods and ghosts. In the distance, the alien vessel still rested like a dark jewel on the horizon, silent but pulsing with purpose. He thought of her words, of the pain behind her composure, of the possibility that humanity was more than what they had always believed. And when his comlink buzzed with a new encrypted message, an invitation from Isari to walk the base perimeter under secure protocol, he didn't hesitate. The night was colder than he remembered, but he welcomed the chill. She met him at the edge of the launch pad, where the old fencing still bore scorch marks from past conflicts. She didn't speak at first, simply walked beside him in measured silence. Her presence was calming in a way he hadn't expected. Grounding. You don't sleep, he said after a long stretch. We dream awake, she replied. He turned to her. What does that mean? We enter a state where thoughts become echoes, where the past visits, and the future shows hints of its outline. It is meditative, healing. It helps to endure grief. Grief. It struck him then, not as a theory, but as a truth she carried like armor beneath her uniform. You lost people, he said. Yes, she answered. Entire vessels, entire cities. Before we came here, I thought I had no more tears to give. But the silence of your planet, it reminded me. Reminded you of what? That we still feel. Even after losing everything, we still want to love again. The words cut deeper than he expected. Not because they were sentimental, but because they mirrored a hollow space in his own chest. A place untouched since the last casualty report with her name on it had crossed his desk. They walked farther into the darkness, past barriers and guard posts. No one stopped them. They moved like shadows, cloaked in a silence only understanding could weave. At the far edge of the base, overlooking the nearby ravine, she stopped. There is something I must tell you, she said, facing the abyss. Terran waited. My people, we did not come here only because of the threat, she began. We came here because of you. He blinked. Me? No, she clarified, turning back to him. Not you alone, but your kind. A frequency we have never heard before emanates from your species, not sound, not energy. A resonance tied to emotional cognition. It creates anomalies. What kind of anomalies? Empathy, emotional resistance to entropy, the very concept of sacrificial love. shouldn't exist. And yet, it does. In you. He struggled to find a reply. Isari stepped forward. I feel it. When I am near you. Not just fascination. Not just curiosity. Something I have never allowed myself to feel across countless star cycles. She reached out, slowly, her fingers brushing against his wrist where the suit ended. The contact was faint, but electric. You do not yet know, she whispered. But you will. The reason you were chosen is more than diplomacy. It is about what lives in you that may save us all. And for the first time, the human officer didn't feel like a negotiator. He felt like a turning point. He didn't pull away. He couldn't. And somewhere above them, the stars pulsed just a little brighter. Rain traced streaks across the reinforced glass of the observation deck, casting fractal shadows across the floor. Terran Vexen stood with arms crossed, eyes unfocused, watching distant lightning flicker on the horizon. The storm was earthborn, natural, comforting in its familiarity. He had seen worse weather in the Arctic Circle during training, but nothing ever rattled him like the stillness that had settled over the Valari ship since their last meeting. 3 days had passed since Isari's cryptic confession. Since then, she had retreated from all contact. No further meetings. No new transmissions. The diplomatic corps buzzed with theories. Internal politics, posturing, second thoughts. But Terran knew better. She was afraid. Not of war, but of something deeper, of the consequences of proximity. Of emotion. His earpiece chirped, the secure line vibrating softly. He tapped it. Major, came a filtered voice, General RYSS, the Coalition's highest liaison for interspecies contact. You've been requested again. Terran turned from the window. Location. Neutral zone. Inside the alien perimeter. They've extended formal access only to you. He acknowledged with a curt nod. The channel closed, leaving him alone with the low hum of electricity and the rising thunder outside. An hour later, he walked beneath the pale blue archways of the Valari corridor again, now more familiar than any human-built structure. Soft pulses of light followed his footsteps. An adaptive technology, perhaps, or a subtle sign of acknowledgement. The guards at the entrance said nothing, their expressions unreadable beneath visors of translucent crystal. Inside the main chamber, Isari stood alone. Her attire was simpler today. Gone was the ceremonial armor, replaced by a soft, silver-toned robe that clung to her form like mist. Her hair was undone, flowing like liquid starlight across her shoulders. She turned as he approached, expression unreadable but eyes wide with layered meaning. You came, she said quietly. You asked, he replied. She hesitated. I questioned whether it was right to see you again. He stepped forward. And I realized fear was not the answer. They stood facing each other in the center of the chamber, surrounded by ambient light and an ever-present, low-frequency hum. The silence between them stretched, not uncomfortable, but rich, alive. You said something the other night, Terran said finally, about resonance, empathy. You made it sound like love was a defense. It is, she answered, but not only a defense. It's an anomaly that disrupts entropy itself. You think of it as a feeling. We think of it as a force. He frowned. How? Because it creates resistance to patterns, predictable behavior, programmed instincts. The universe moves toward decay. Except where love exists, their evolution accelerates. Complexity blooms. Sacrifice becomes possible. He exhaled slowly. You believe that's why we were able to call whatever threat is coming? I believe something in your species woke it, she said, or perhaps disturbed it. And I believe the key to stopping it lies in understanding what only your kind can offer. Emotion, he said. No, Isari whispered. Connection. Her hand drifted toward his again, slower this time. He took it gently, their fingers intertwining. Not with the urgency of lust, but the reverence of discovery. Her skin was cool, smooth like glass, but the contact was electric, sending a ripple through his chest. Her eyes closed. Do you feel it? I do, he said softly. In our people, she began, voice almost trembling. Physical contact is not casual. It is a conduit. For memory. For intention. I feel what you feel. Terran stood still, allowing her to read whatever lived in his pulse, in the warmth of his touch. She opened her eyes, the glow behind them softer now. You carry guilt, she said, for someone you lost. My sister, he replied. She was a medic, one of the best, killed during an ambush when I made the wrong call. Isari took a breath, her hand still in his. Then you understand why I fear love. It reveals every fracture. He squeezed her fingers gently. That's what makes it worth trusting. The room dimmed slightly, a signal that the cycle of the artificial day was ending. Valari ships operated on 27-hour rotations, slightly longer than Earth's. The internal systems mimicked starlight, waxing and waning as if to remind its occupants they were never far from the cosmic rhythm. Isari led him to a smaller chamber, quieter and more intimate, its walls covered in flowing script. She gestured to a seat, curved, floating, warm to the touch. This is a place for memory, she explained. The glyphs around us are thoughts from past commanders, emotions etched into the ship's very skin. He looked around. Like a journal? Like a soul. She sat opposite him, folding her legs beneath her. Tell me, what did you dream of before war? Terran hesitated. No one had asked him that in years. Music, he said finally. I used to play the cello. Thought maybe I'd write symphonies one day. She smiled, the expression small but real. And why didn't you? The world burned, and I knew notes wouldn't put out the fires. Isari tilted her head. You are wrong. He arched an eyebrow. Am I? Yes, she said, because music connects. It's the same resonance I spoke of. You chose war because it was urgent. But music is important. It reminds us who we were before the urgency. He was quiet a long moment. Then, what about you? She blinked. Before war. He nodded. I danced, she said. In my culture, dance is a sacred ritual. We don't perform it. We live it. Movement becomes prayer, memory, protest. Terran leaned forward slightly. Do you still dance? Isari's eyes flickered, her fingers tightening for a moment. Not in many years. Why? She looked away. Because I forgot how to feel safe. The words landed between them like a wound exposed. Vulnerable, but not ashamed. He reached across the space, not demanding, just offering. She took his hand again, the contact slower now, deliberate. I don't know how this ends, he said honestly. Neither do I, she replied. But I know it begins with trust. They remained there long into the false night, exchanging fragments of their histories, not politics or strategy, but pieces of humanity and Valari essence that defied negotiation. Terran told her of the storms in the Midwest, where he grew up catching frogs and skipping rocks before the world got complicated. She told him of the bioluminescent forests on Narrow Sioux, where Valari children learned to glow with the rhythm of life. Eventually, she rose and extended her hand. Come, she said. There is something I want to show you. They moved deeper into the vessel until the walls turned transparent, revealing a chamber at the heart of the ship. Within it floated a sphere of light, pulsating gently like a sleeping star. This, Isari said, is the Solace Core. It is our most sacred technology. It harmonizes thought and feeling. It listens, learns, responds. Terran approached it slowly. What does it do? It heals, she said, but only if truth is spoken in its presence. He turned to her. Then why bring me here? Isari hesitated. Because I want you to hear something I have not told anyone. He nodded. I did not come here solely under orders, she began. I came because I saw a human signal over Valari channels. One that should have been impossible. What kind of signal? A transmission from one of our lost vessels, carrying the neural imprint of a Valari commander who went missing 200 cycles ago. Terran froze. You're saying someone from your species, someone from your history, is alive on Earth? or reborn within one of you. He stepped back. That's not possible. It shouldn't be, she said. And yet, the core detected a pattern in your biosignal. An echo. He stared at her. You think I'm connected to this lost Valari? I know you are, she said softly. And if that's true, then you are more than human. You are a bridge. He felt the floor shift beneath his certainty. All the training, the orders, the chain of command, none of it prepared him for this. Isari stepped closer. You feel it too, don't you? He met her eyes. I feel something. Something I can't explain. She reached up and touched his cheek, the gesture featherlight. Then let me show you how to remember. And in that moment, as her fingers traced the side of his face and the solace core flared brighter, something inside him unlocked. Memories that weren't his. A voice whispering in an alien tongue that somehow he understood. And an emotion so vast, so ancient, that it swallowed the years between stars. He staggered slightly. She caught him, guiding him gently to his knees. I'm not who I thought I was, he whispered. No, she said, kneeling beside him, her forehead touching his. You are more. And as the chamber filled with light, the future began to unfold. The rain had stopped by the time Terran stepped outside the Valari vessel, but the earth beneath his boots remained damp, soaking through the soles like a quiet echo of everything that had just happened. He could still feel the imprint of Isari's touch, not merely on his skin, but deeper, in his mind, where fragments of memory swirled like ashes in wind. They weren't human memories. They were older, stranger, filled with sounds and sensations that no earthborn brain could invent. The Valari commander had unlocked something in him. Something ancient. Something waiting. He wandered the edge of the neutral zone for hours, replaying her words. You are more. That simple phrase carried a weight heavier than his military training could handle. It wasn't duty, not as he knew it. It was inheritance. And it terrified him. By the time he returned to the coalition base, dawn had broken in streaks of violet and orange across the eastern sky. He bypassed the questioning stares of the guards, walked past his quarters, and found himself in the restricted communications room. He needed answers, and the only one who might offer them was someone long gone. He activated the terminal. Search, he commanded. Valari signal detection logs. Filter for anomalies matching profile XJ47. The machine hummed, then returned a series of encrypted files. Among them was one marked, unknown source, partial imprint recovered. He opened it. Static. Then, not dead. Memory persists, awaiting resonance. His heart nearly stopped. The voice, alien in cadence, was still eerily familiar. Not just Valari. Not just otherworldly. It was his own, distorted, echoed across time. Terran sat back, stunned. He didn't sleep, didn't eat. The hours bled together until a soft knock interrupted the quiet. The door opened slowly. Isari stood there. She entered without asking, her expression solemn. She looked around, saw the files projected in midair, and said, You found it. He nodded slowly. I heard it. That voice? It's me, isn't it? Not you as you are now, she said. But perhaps you as you were once. Or will be. Time doesn't work that way for us. She stepped closer. Perhaps not for you. But for the Valari, a memory is not linear. Our past lives can echo into new forms. That's why we preserve the neural lattice. Why our vessels carry the solace cores. He stared at her. What does it mean? It means you were part of us, she said. Or at least something of you was. A commander lost before our great migration. We believed them dead. Now, their essence lives in you. Terran paced, hands flexing. So what do I do with that? I'm not that person. I'm not even Valari. You are both, she said softly. And that makes you the one who can unite what's coming. He stopped pacing. You keep talking about what's coming. What is it? Isari's eyes darkened. A breach. Something older than Valari, older than Earth. A consciousness vast and cold. We named it Nisrith, the Undoer. It does not conquer. It erases. He swallowed. You think it's coming here? It's already here, she said. Drawn by the resonance between us. Drawn by the anomaly of your hybrid essence. He took a step back. So I'm the bait? She shook her head. No. You are the answer. Terran exhaled shakily. Why me? Because you still love, she said. Even after all your loss, all your wounds, you choose to connect. That's what Nisrith cannot comprehend. It is void. You are gravity. That's why you frighten it. Silence stretched between them. Then, why did you avoid me after the first contact? Isari looked down. Because what I felt terrified me. I saw not just you, but the echoes of someone I once loved. And I feared I would lose you all over again. Terran stepped forward. What if I'm not him? What if I never remember? She looked up. Then I will choose you as you are now. Their eyes locked. There was no wind, no thunder, only breath between them. Shared and slow. Terran reached out, cupping her face gently. You said touch was a conduit, that it shared memory. Let me see what you see. She nodded, leaning into his hand. Then close your eyes. He did, and suddenly the chamber fell away. He was in another place, another body. Stars wheeled overhead, not Earth's sky, but a violet firmament laced with auroras. In the distance, crystalline towers stood silhouetted against a twin moon horizon. And beside him, she stood. Not Isari as he knew her, but younger, adorned in ceremonial robes. Laughing, he remembered her name, not the one she used now, but the one he had spoken in another life. Eshera, he whispered, and she turned to him, no longer vision, no longer past. Just her here now. You remember, she said aloud. Terran opened his eyes. Some of it, not all, but it's real. She nodded. Yes. He took her hand. Then let's finish this together. The coalition was not pleased. Command convened an emergency meeting once the truth was shared. Arguments erupted over protocol, over existential risk, over whether Terran could be trusted now that he was, by every scientific measure, something new. But none of it mattered, because the breach had already begun. Valari sensors detected it first, fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field, abnormal energy readings near the poles, and finally, the distortion. A rift in space, opening near the Arctic Ocean, pulsing with unnatural darkness. Not a black hole, not a wormhole, something worse. The undoer had arrived. Coalition forces mobilized, but their weapons failed to lock onto the breach. Valari ships hovered in formation, but no action could be taken without a key. Terran and Isari stood at the center of the command bridge aboard the Varellin, the largest ship in orbit. Outside, the rift twisted reality like a blade through silk. I don't know how to stop it, Terran admitted. You do, Isari whispered. Not with weapons, with memory, with feeling. He frowned. You want me to feel at it? No, she said. You must resonate with me, with your past, with your pain, with everything you were and are and could be. And what if I fail? She took his face in both hands. Then we fall together. They stepped into the solace chamber, and the core awoke. Light filled the space, wrapping around them like gravity made visible. Terran closed his eyes. He opened his mind. He let the sorrow in. His sister dying in his arms. His father's silence after the funeral. The sound of cello strings breaking when he tried to play again. And deeper still, another war on another world. A love lost beneath collapsing skyfire. Eshera. Isari felt it all. She opened herself in return. The exile. The dance she never finished. The silence of command. The weight of worlds. And there, in the center, was love. Not desire. Not fantasy. But a binding force, older than fear, more constant than hate. The Solace Core responded. In the days following the rift's collapse, the Earth did not return to how it was. The skies held a strange shimmer at night, as though stars now glowed with greater urgency. The oceans whispered differently to the winds, and the forests stood in deeper silence. The world had shifted not through destruction, but through memory. Terran stood alone at the ridge overlooking the crash site of one of the Volari satellite nodes. It had been fried when the Solace core discharged into the rift. Charred fragments now lay scattered across blackened earth, but they smelled not of death, only change. Behind him, soft steps approached. "You've been avoiding the celebrations." Isari's voice was gentler than the morning air. She wore a deep indigo cloak, woven with threads that caught the light like moving water. Her ceremonial garb, worn only when addressing the Council of Echoes. Terran didn't turn around. Didn't feel right celebrating what we don't understand. She came beside him and followed his gaze to the horizon. "We stopped an erasure. That matters." He tilted his head. "For now. But if I carry the memory of a being that's existed before Earth even had continents, then what else is out there? What else am I attracting?" She reached for his hand. "You are not a beacon. You're a bridge. There's a difference." He finally looked at her, studying the lines of her face, the golden veins in her eyes, the subtle shift in her breathing when she lied. But there was no falsehood in her now, only calm. "I still don't remember everything," he confessed. "You remember enough," she said. "Enough to feel, enough to choose." He exhaled slowly. "And you? Still afraid I'll become someone else?" "No," she answered, eyes fixed on his. "I was afraid you wouldn't let yourself become at all." He let her words sink in before glancing back at the remains of the node. "The Council's still watching. They don't trust me. They don't trust change," Isari said. "But they will learn. We all must." They started walking, slow steps through the damaged terrain. Volari drones passed overhead, scanning, rebuilding. In the distance, human engineers worked alongside alien architects. Something that would have caused riots a year ago now passed as routine. The breach had made enemies irrelevant. The aftermath had made kin. A child ran by, half human, half Volari, with eyes like amber fireflies and skin freckled with star patterns. He waved at Isari, then giggled and sprinted away toward his parents. One in a Terran military uniform, the other robed in iridescent Volari silk. Terran watched them. "That kid, he doesn't see difference. Doesn't see borders." "No," Isari said, "because his soul wasn't taught the shape of walls." Terran stopped. "We should teach them, shouldn't we? All of them. What we saw. What we felt." Isari smiled. "That's what the archives are for. And you'll help build them." He blinked. "You're serious? You think I'd let the only living echo-hybrid drift aimlessly?" She teased, though the sincerity beneath it was clear. "No one else can share what you felt. Not like you. Not with a foot in both worlds." He ran a hand through his hair. "So, no going back to punching drills in desert dust?" "No," she said gently. "But there will be challenges. The Volari aren't unified. Some want to remain hidden. Others want to colonize. You, we stand between those extremes. And the humans? They'll fear you too," she admitted. "Until they see what we've seen." They reached a cluster of tents, temporary shelters housing recovered civilians and early cooperative groups. Children sang a song in a language that hadn't existed until a week ago. A hybrid tongue, Volari consonants braided with Terran vowels. It was beautiful. Terran listened in silence. "What if this doesn't last?" he asked suddenly. "Then we build again," she answered. "And if the next threat is worse, then we face it together." He nodded, then turned to her. "And if I lose myself, if the echoes take over?" Isari placed a hand over his chest. "Then I will remind you of this moment, this choice, this love." He swallowed hard. "You still love me, even knowing I might become him?" Her voice broke slightly. "I don't love what you might become. I love who you are when you choose. And you keep choosing." Their lips met, not rushed, not burning, but full of everything they had endured. It was a promise not just between two beings but between two peoples, between futures. The song of the children rose around them, a chorus in a language not yet named. One child laughed mid-verse, and the others followed, collapsing into a heap of joy. It was real. Messy, new, ungoverned, but real. Later that day, the Council of Echoes convened within the suspended amphitheater of the Valari flagship, orbiting Earth. Terran and Isari stood before the gathered minds. Some physical, others only present through psychic projection. "We do not understand this hybrid," one projection said, a flickering shimmer in the shape of a crystalline moth. "He is not Valari," said another, this one speaking through a human body linked by interface. "But he carries the resonance," a third voice added. The Solace Corps responded. Terran stepped forward. "I am not Valari. I am not just human either. I am the thread between, and I don't come with promises, only with proof." He held up a small stone. On it were etched two marks, one Valari, one Terran, interwoven into a single symbol. "This was made by a child." She said it means belonging. The council was silent. Then the moth shape pulsed gently. "Let it be recorded." One by one, the voices agreed. Not unanimous, but sufficient. Terran exhaled. Isari squeezed his hand. They descended back to Earth hours later, returning not just as survivors, but as architects. In the following weeks, the archive project began. Terran led joint sessions, speaking across languages, helping Terrans understand Valari memory weaving, and aiding Valari in grasping the raw, fractured nature of human grief. Slowly, stories began to form. Hybrid myths, new heroes, songs that had no nation but belonged to everyone who had seen the rift. In the quiet hours, he and Isari would return to the ridge. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they simply watched. And one night, as they sat beneath stars that now burned just a little brighter, he whispered, "You still scare me." She smiled. "Good. Why?" "Because love should feel vast, like standing before something too big to fully grasp. If it doesn't scare you a little, it isn't real." He leaned into her, forehead to forehead. "Then I'm terrified." Her lips brushed his. "Then you're exactly where you belong." And overhead, the sky sang silently with every memory that had ever dared to become something new.